This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
So good, so good, so good.
Just in and so good. Thousands of spring finds up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means thousands of fresh reasons to rack.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Vince, Calvin Klein, Rag & Bone?
Obsessed. Why do we rock? For the hottest deals.
Save on Madewell, Kate Spade New York, Sam Edelman, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
It's always a good time to celebrate your team. With designs for every occasion, Starbucks cards are the perfect thank you for employees and clients alike. Did you know that you can easily order gift cards in bulk directly from Starbucks at starbuckscardb2b.com? Give your team the recognition they deserve with a gift they're sure to use. They're thoughtful gifts for special occasions, events, or just because. With digital, physical, and customizable card options, gifting is made easy through starbuckscardb2b.com.
It's really cool. Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, top 14, Pro Leader, National, the French national team, brilliant towns, cities, restaurants, bars, cuisine, fabulous fans of France to make the game so bloody excellent. Rob, how are you?
Alive.
Do
you know what? I'm actually now feeling all right. Now that I've kind of genuinely, without meaning to sound too cheesy, the fact that we are recording this podcast has really perked me up because, quite frankly, I've been a shadow of a man today. As I imagine you have. You are looking, the fact that you have, your face is capable of curling into a smile is about 4,000% upgrade on when I last saw you, Richard.
Yeah, it was, do you want to, I think you said last week you teed it up. So we've just come back from an annual weekend we've been doing with a group of old mates from university that we do around Christmas every year. And it was Rob's turn to organise it. Do you want to? Where do we start?
Well, I guess so. We went to Padua. Still don't know which one you say it. I think it's Padua in Italian and Padua in English, in the same way that we have like Firenze and Florence.
Genoa and Geneva.
Yeah, we went to Padua, which is about 45 minutes from Venice. So we flew in and out of Venice Airport, Marco Polo, and had a couple of nights in Padua. We have to, as part of our weekend, there has to be a sporting occasion, I guess, or a kind of something we go and watch to stop us from ending up in a bar and writing ourselves off into oblivion. But it turns out if you go to a sporting event, you are very capable of doing that still, especially when it is rugby, which we managed to do. We went to watch Petrarca versus Rovigo, which was a derby in Serie A Elite. I've got to be careful, otherwise my phone will start talking to me if I talk about Serie A. And yeah, it was second versus third going into it. Rovigo and Petrarca, I think Petrarca are the second most successful side in Italian rugby history.
Reigning champs as well. Is that
reigning
correct?
Champs, yeah. And Rovigo, I think, is about half an hour, 45 minutes away from Petrarca or Padua, as being the town. So yeah, we kind of had an afternoon there. It was a bloody lovely afternoon. The sun was out. It's just that beautiful light, the trees in the background. We weren't in the grandstand. We missed out on tickets for that, but we just strolled into the clubhouse. Shout out to Spritz and Scrums as well for giving us a lot of intel and direction and lots of recommendations for Padova generally, and just generally being a nice kind of friendly bunch to chat to about all things Italian rugby. But we had a great time from what I remember of it.
Yeah, it was a great occasion actually. And just one of the more, in spite of maybe going a little bit heavy on the spritz in the basking sunlight, just a really lovely place to watch a bit of sport. Basically just sat on the equivalent of like a kind of picnic bench, I guess, and sort of supped away watching some pretty high quality rugby. And then
one hell of a comeback from Rovigo. 28-29 was the final score. They were 28-7 down at half time.
Last kick of the game, touchline conversion to win it. Flares. Yeah. It was a really cool occasion. Lovely city. Probably didn't quite do it justice, but maybe reason to go back again, I dare say. Yeah, very, very cool spot. After my trip to Italy in the summer, mate, I was on the cusp, and I'm just nudging further away from this French rugby lark.
Was it the Chinar spritz, the artichoke liqueur? Was that what's tipped you over the edge?
Yes, in more ways.
It's actually
than one.
Pretty nice. That actually, it's quite like Amaro.
They're amazing. Yeah, I think I think it's basically the same, but they're they really do a job, those. But anyway, we're back in Blighty.
Yeah, we stuck around afterwards as well. So it was actually, we were able to chat to a couple of the players, a couple of the old boys. That was really nice. Shout out to, he probably won't be listening, but shout out to Daniel Donato. Aspiring, hopefully, kind of future Italian international, future US international, I think was the other option he's got, wasn't it? But yeah, fly half for Petrarca, but hopefully going on to bigger and better things eventually. Lovely chap.
Very nice. Although you could do, I mean, from what we saw of it, you could do worse than living in Padova. It was pretty put together, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Compared to
a bit of money knocking around in Padova.
Certainly seemed that way. Let's get into it. Let's get back into the meat while we're here. The top 14, we're about to have a little hiatus as we go into Europe, and we will be back later in the week for a slightly more in-depth run through of, I guess, the French team's chances, some of the big matchups, particularly with English clubs, and a little bit of a look ahead to perhaps if you are travelling out there to watch your side, maybe one or two. Maybe we can return the favour, Rob. One or two tips from inspired by Spritz and Scrums and their excellent tips. So,
well, our recommendations for Clermont, which is where Benetton are, and I know they're big fans of Benetton. I don't know whether Actually, no. Let's build it up. We've got loads of recommendations for Clermont for any Benetton fans going out there. But yeah, that will come later in the week.
That's probably the one place that we had no recommendations, but never. Well, maybe we can go back in the memory. Should we start with Clermont? They absolutely pumped my boys Cast, put to the sword.
So I told you, or I messaged you in the week, Cast had a points difference away from home of -17, which was the fourth best points difference, bear with me, in the league. And yet they hadn't won away, and they were 10th best record. But the fact that the point being that they're -17 in 4 games is actually shows
Not
what
bad.
we've kind of thought, is that all their games have been pretty tight, and they've been there or thereabouts. And you said jokingly, they'll probably concede 50 in this game or lose by 40 in this weekend. And lo and behold, it happened.
What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing. We'll come on to the sort of state of the league in a moment, but Clermont are sneakily having a very good season, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, 4th, joint 3rd.
Yeah, looking
mind-blowing that. I think Urios seems to be in a lot of the media at the moment. I think he's really enjoying now after Bechamel Sauce Gate.
That was the turning point.
That was the turning point. They've been a different team since Bechamel Sauce.
The saucer of Bechamel sauce. Or was it a plate of bechamel or a jug of bechamel?
I think it was a saucer of bechamel.
Yeah, nice. Fair play to Clermont. They're going really nicely.
Lucas Tozan's a good signing, isn't he? He's going really well good for them. And those kind of just shows that those guys that from Toulouse that have kind of gone elsewhere are actually pretty good, because Retier's going pretty well at Bordeaux. I think.
He's been great.
Tozan's been great at Clermont.
Yeah, he has been really good. And you're right, Retier has been excellent in that sort of void when, yes, the internationals have been away. They got rid of Tamway, didn't they? He's been awesome for them. Bordeaux in the in the mist.
I think it was actually
past.
just smoke. It was just smoke pre-game. Yeah, it hung around for ages.
It was misty at the end, though.
Yes, it was.
So
yeah.
I don't know if there's like a bit of, I don't know. They got some more fireworks out or something.
It just looked bloody cold, and it just kind of stayed. It looked real cold.
9-6. That's not. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of this to make any judgment on, because it wasn't like biblical conditions. This was it.
No, it was sun was out.
Like, why was, I don't understand how it's such a low scoring game.
I don't quite know either. It seemed to me like two teams were trying to kind of, I think Montpellier just, that is kind of how they play. I think they are now just going to keep it tight, stick it up the jumper. First 5 minutes, Joey Carberry, you'll notice that Maxime Lucu kicked the goals. That is because on around the 5 minute mark, Joey Carberry had a chance to kick a penalty. And it was one of the more genuine clothings of a kick you'll ever see. It's like one of those ones where you like almost hear his foot hit the ground before the ball. It's that bad. Like he properly cloths it.
The carrier bag.
And Lucu then proceeds to just nail loads of them, like 50 meters into the air. Lucu was brilliant. Generally, shock. He kind of ran the show. He was trying to inject pace into it. It's kind of, I think that's kind of an underrated element of his game, because people see the kind of controlling, the passing, the kicking off both feet. You kind of forget that actually he's just he's so good at injecting pace into a game and knowing when to go and knowing when to step on the accelerator. Bordeaux had a strong team out, like real strong team out. But Jalabert played, Deporter was back. The back row is just it got so many options in that back five of that scrum.
Swinton started this one, did he?
He was on the bench. He was on the bench. They had Vern, Boschaton and Gazzotti started with Coleman and I want to say someone else really good. Oh, Cazzo. Cazzo plays like every week, doesn't he? Pretty good player. Big Ben was back as well. And actually he had to come back because Jefferson Poirot got binned for basically scrummaging badly. I think Poirot also was doing his second stint because Pershaw got injured. So Big Ben had to come back on at loosehead.
Nice.
But, yeah.
That must be his first.
Montpellier got into them. Montpellier really got into them at scrum time.
First game of the year?
Big Ben, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Bordeaux nearly scored an absolute wonder try with two outrageous offloads. A Schisterer, which seems to be all the vogue in top 14 at the moment, from Rohan Jansi van Rensburg, and then a kind of flick up from Deporter, but the one from Rohan just went forward. It was just quite obviously forward, but it would have been an unbelievable try had it been flat. Virat Kohli missed a kick with about 15 minutes to go, which would have made it 9-6, and he then had the one nearer the end. So yeah, Leo Kohli, jury's out for me as a goal kicker. Generally, I think he's getting there. But
I quite like his aspects of his play outside of being a goal kicker. Though I think he's a really high quality 9. I'm not quite sure where this. I guess it's just a bit needs must, isn't it, with them and their goal kickers? But just that balance seems wildly off, almost like constantly. They've shoehorned him in at 10 a few times as well, haven't they?
Yeah, Thomas Van Sant is a good goal kicker. I don't.
But yeah, exactly. That's why I don't quite, unless there's a sort of with Owen Farrell, like a bit of a niggle type thing there. Yeah. But it seems a bit odd.
They're going all right, Montpellier, though. I think they're sneaking up on people. I think they're not going to blow teams away, but I think they're building a pretty good base.
Well, I think that result shows as well. They're possibly, like, you wouldn't be surprised to see them take a couple of big scalps and maybe disrupt things a little bit as we get into the back end of the next year, if they can keep up that momentum. But they seem to have certainly arrested the decline and the general farcical nature of where they've been a little bit. So good signs for them. You mentioned a few missed kicks. First game of the weekend, Racing Toulouse. Thomas Ramos missed 3 kicks at goal.
Yeah.
proper
they were not at
collector's
their
item
best.
stuff.
Yeah, they really weren't at their best. Entamac didn't look like he made a couple of errors as well. They had a good team out. I mean, it's Toulouse, of course, they had a good team out, but they had a really
Probably
strong
a
team
stronger
out.
team than maybe anticipated off the back of the internationals.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Jalonche playing second row at the moment, which is I guess it's interesting. It doesn't seem, that feels like a fill-in to me when they've got a few others, but they look quite nice in Crete. I don't know what all the bad press is about.
It did look nice,
nice,
didn't it? And there were a few more in the crowd. I think Toulouse travelled in pretty good numbers, as you'd expect.
I think that's more like when, I don't know, Man United play Chelsea, and there's like all the Man United fans live in London. It's kind of if you look at like the voting for when the top 14 on their Instagram do kind of who's going to win this game, the Toulouse ones are always just wildly, like, you can tell they are the biggest following. They have the biggest following. It's like kind of how that top 14 team of the year ended up with Kinghorn in it, even though he'd played 4 minutes, top 14 games or something. Yeah, but Racing, they'll be annoyed at this one. It was kind of one that got away from them. They were definitely in it. I think they were a little bit frustrated. Some of the refereeing, I think Toulouse did get the rub of the green. Diamani was brilliant again.
It's really good.
Talking of refereeing, have you seen the Hambosi, like, not quite try, but where he gets tackled down the wing?
No, I haven't.
Hambosi was brilliant as well. Like, he was everywhere. He's also rapid. So he's clear. It's a really nice play. Like, Diamani off the base, they kind of then walk in at first receiver. Dan Lancaster gets it away. Really nice working of the space. Diamani hits the Jets, burns Delebe, and then LaBelle is coming across. So Hambosi is running it in down the wing. LaBelle comes across and just wipes him out into touch. And Hambosi's kind of no complaints, gets up. He's annoyed at himself for not getting a pass away or whatever. No complaints from anyone at Racing. And it's it's about 20% of an arm is in that tackle. It's, from what it looks, it's a really bad tackle technique from Mathis LaBelle, but it basically looks like he's kind of gone head first, dived head first at Hambosi's thighs, and that's knocked him into touch. Doesn't look like a tackle. I think but there doesn't seem to be any kind of Ferrari
demonstration.
Yeah, I watched it loads of times and was but they didn't even go back and look at it. It was just line out to Toulouse. It's but are they not going to look at that? He's just wiped him out anyway. But yeah, I think Racing, it was one that got away for Racing. They should have won that. Yeah,
they've had a couple. That's two, isn't
especially
it? Crete, they lost to La Rochelle last kick of the game earlier in the season, and now they've done they've not conspired, because obviously it's Toulouse, but probably could have won. That's a pretty big swing in your final reckoning.
Toulouse aren't going to play that badly too many other times this season.
No.
Especially with all those names. I don't know who was going to play. If Grau got injured, I don't know who was going to play 9. They went 6-2 split. Cost and Capozzo. I think it must have been
Capozzo, yeah. I think Racing as well. They went for Gilbert, didn't they? They didn't have another specialist 9 on the bench. So
Gilbert has played a bit of 9, hasn't he? He has, or he's certainly covered it.
A little bit, yeah. I don't think he's... not entirely convinced, but fair play. Toulouse march on. Another team who have had a really good start, or certainly of late, and turning some good performances, has been Toulon, who beat Perpignan, a team that we've heard Kieran Brooks earlier in the year. They were looking not basically to go unbeaten at home. That's kind of the backbone of their season. Yeah, I mean Toulon. Can we see them sort of breaking that duopoly this season, do you think, at the top, or still feels there may be a little bit of a step down from both Toulouse and Bordeaux? But they've got all the parts, haven't they? I think
I've probably been pretty vocal about how good I think Toulon are. I do question whether they've quite got the minerals, although they've shown they've got the minerals. The kind of loss to La Rochelle in the barrage last year is a bit of a stain for me. I think that's sitting in the back of my mind. I can't quite get my head around that being that being where their mindset was at, because they were in really good form then as well. They don't really know who first choice 10 is. It looks like it might be Hervé now.
Yeah, I think it
Higa
feels
looks
that
like he's
way.
kind of effectively done, doesn't he?
Does a little bit.
I don't think they quite have the out and out depth that Bordeaux and Toulouse have.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the amount of game time that guys like Sanzel and, well, mainly Sanzel because he's rubbish, but a few of the other kind of fringe players, like they haven't had that much. To be fair, we've barely seen Fainganuku and Frisch. We certainly haven't seen them together, which would be lovely.
Frisch played this one though, right?
Yeah, I think he did.
It's been a little bit in and out.
I don't think we've quite seen them at full tilt in terms of their starting 15, which I guess is a positive. I think the pack is brilliant. I think the pack is really brilliant and would probably match up and cause Toulouse or Bordeaux
definitely
a bit of trouble. Whether they've quite got the out and out top end skill in a big game that I still have questions over.
Yeah,
Have they played either of those teams?
I'm not sure they have.
They played one of them. They played Bordeaux just after Christmas.
I know they're playing Toulouse in.
Oh, they got pumped by Toulouse, didn't they? They sent the Shags and got well and truly pumped, didn't they? 57-5 back in October.
It's like a Sunday night game.
It
was, yeah. Yeah, that really is a hammering. So yeah, they have played them and they've been dispatched. But yeah, they're going nicely.
Bad news for Perpignan. That real bad news for them.
Yeah,
because they had a half decent side out, and they, as you said, they
we've
wanted to win every game at the Emmys round.
We've seen a few more away wins than I think we have in previous years, right? So it doesn't feel quite as catastrophic, but it's not, as you said, it's not ideal. We have to spend a little bit of time on the massive away win, which is surely the biggest result.
Just on Perpignan, the 18-year-old Kiwi fly half played, and Brooksy's a big fan. Kretschmann, the guy that started at 10 for Perpignan on Saturday.
First start?
Yeah, he's like brand new.
Is he Kiwi?
Oh, no, maybe not, but it's Kiwi. Hicks is the Kiwi, sorry.
Max
18-year-old 10, who's very good. New Kiwi, Hicks at 7, who arrived 2 weeks ago, also good.
Oh, nice.
The main line in from Brooksy there.
Very good. I don't know anything about Max Hicks. Fair play. All right. Let's talk about the massive result. Probably arguably the biggest upset of the season. Well, in fact, it must be the biggest upset of the season. Probably one of the biggest upsets in quite some time.
Yeah.
This is Van's first ever. Was it first? They haven't won away from home.
First ever away win, yeah.
Their first ever away win in the top 14 over La Rochelle of all teams. Like, this is. That Musto cat has clearly been doing some thinking. Or what's his name? Spitzer. But he must have had a touchline ban for this after the outburst.
I think he was there. I think I saw him.
Was he there? They gave him a bit of a hall pass for this, but they obviously knew. They knew he was gonna do the job.
We both said
win.
We both said it could get quite ugly for Van. When we were debating. Yeah, because we were pretty split on our predictions this week, and there was a lot of away wins from both of us. And the one we were unanimous on was La Rochelle are going to absolutely destroy Van. Like, it could be really ugly. You look at the respective home form for La Rochelle and the away form for Van, like 28 tries or something in 5 games so far they've conceded away from home, and just. They've got a pack that should have been able to match up against Van and neutralise them, and then way more quality out wide. But maybe not, because Ruru and Saili are playing some brilliant rugby.
Yeah, Saili was immense. They lost to Bordeaux, wasn't it? Just the week before. He was absolutely amazing in that first half.
Yeah,
for someone who, obviously. An excellent rugby player, but you wouldn't necessarily say he's probably on the decline slightly, given he's 33, 34. He was fucking unbelievable. That's awesome that he sort of carried it on. Lafage looked pretty good.
Right, Lafage, okay. His goal kicking, he is not what you would call a pure striker of the ball. I think you referenced the kind of in the meltdown against Bordeaux last week, he kind of properly thumped one and like 10 meters wide. He
that was
missed one
after
here.
he nailed some absolute beauties. I think he might have a bit of the gets a bit wobbly when it's a bit maybe looks a bit easier.
It's just he doesn't look like he's ever striking them particularly cleanly. But to be fair, he kicked a lot of them in this game, and that came from Van building pressure on La Rochelle, like, and up front as well. You know, scrum pens at the breakdown, like two areas you'd expect La Rochelle to be really, really elite, and they, you know, Van were getting better of them, which is fascinating. It's they're doing, I don't know what they've turned Mako Vunipola into Beeston to Arira. Like he's suddenly like world's best scrummaging loose head, which I don't know how that's happened.
He's been amazing. Him and Sinclair down at Toulon have just become. They always were a good player, but you're right. At scrum time, he just looks like granite. I think it's ever since Mako's gone full bald with the head tape. It just works for him.
Handling is in a Chris Budgeon.
He's been awesome. Yeah, I think it's a really exciting result for the league as well, because I think we're getting towards the point of not to suggest that Van are going to get rolled over every week, but probably almost, you know, completely, what's the word, like resigned to the fact that they're going to come bottom and then that race is done. Whereas any team that can do that, you would think, not just because of the quality it showcases and how good that squad must be to be able to do that, but the boost that must give them after some pretty tough weeks, and to come back from Bordeaux, that must have been,
could have ruined them,
a gut punch, and to come back a week afterwards is a pretty serious indictment of them as a side.
Also, like this was not far off of full noise La Rochelle. A lot of those guys have had their injuries, but Dante, after his cameo in the back row last week, he was back at 12 with Bottia back first time in ages.
Yeah,
after what they thought might have been a career-ending injury, but Dante and Seteni is their first. Like that's an elite Champions Cup winning centre pairing. Bottia played, Antonio played, Skelton played. You know, Doulan, we always say, is so key for them. Jack Knoll was great again. Like, Vunivalu is an international winger. I think that was his debut, was it? But like, they had a real good team out, and for them, and they showed some real quality of their own in the Mall anyway, rumbling them over. But I just can't get my head around that result. It's baffling.
Yeah, fair play to Van, and we have to call out as well just a magnificent piece of ludicrous and completely bizarre skill by that man Mako Vunipola, who, if you haven't seen it, I can't really do it justice, but probably the best example of great touch for a big man since I don't know, Peter Crouch, Akim Fenwa. Just ridiculous behaviour. Little kind of what do you even call it? He sort of like chips it up to himself, and then
he controls it. He kind of it's too low for him to catch, so he like kind of traps it, but it like pops up nicely into his hands. It's beautiful. Followed by a little chip kick. Yeah,
top work from Van up in the northwest. What else have we spoken about? Your boys Po. Good win, needed win, I'd say.
Real good win. I was nervous about this game generally, and the kind of stuff on the social media afterwards. I think on the official Po Instagram, it said the smile was back at the Hamo, which I think was needed. It felt like the game was two sides that are struggling for form and quality, trying to be less crap than the other side, and Leon just gave away so many penalties, and Joe Simmons MBE kicked pretty much everything and was brilliant, as you might expect. But I mean, Leon, they weren't great. Po were the better team here, and I think it's a real concerning game for Leon, not only with how they weren't able to get like scrum penalties against Po. In fact, Po got one near the end as well, which should have been an obvious area for them to target. But injuries as well in this game to Guillard, Kuyu, and Burdo. So aside from Niniashvili, you're probably picking those are probably the 3 worst injuries they could have got.
Yeah.
The Kuyu one, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen the injury. I saw the quite long highlights, but I didn't see Kuyo getting done.
Well, so because Sasha Zagur gets a yellow card for it, which I think is, and this is not, I'm trying not hopefully with Poe blindness on here, but he basically Kuyu gets his arm trapped in a ruck, and Zagur is clearing him out. Like Kuyu is trying to jackal the ball, and Zagur clears him out and gets him kind of bang on the elbow and kind of knocks his arm the kind of wrong way, I guess. And it looks like Kuyu is in a lot of pain, but it is a clear out. Like it's one of those ones where he's been given a yellow card purely because a big name player has gone off injured. It was a clear out. Like there's no coaching point there. I don't know whether it was kind of for reckless or I don't know. It was ridiculous. Talking of yellow cards though, Mr. Randrandra was lucky to not be given another red card for a high shot in which must have been his first game back since the Cam Winnett one. Joe Simmons, he's lucky. Joe Simmons MBE did not make too much of it, but he did clock him in the head with his shoulder. I think yellow's fair, but he was lucky boy. And yeah, the other thing from this, as much as I've been down on Leon, Niniashvili is quick. We know that. Newsflash, Niniashvili is really good and really quick.
He almost, every time I see him, he looks more kind of cartoonish in his speed.
Yeah,
it's like Road Runner. It is quite something. I can't work out if that's. I mean, obviously he's rapid, but like what it is in particular that makes him look.
I think it's his gait. I think he's quite like leant over when he runs. Yeah, quite low to the ground. He's some player. Is he confirmed as off to La Rochelle, or is that all still a bit? I don't know if it's confirmed. But they've signed Gaban Law, so we kind of know that
there's some replacements. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's so Leon now 5 defeats in a row in the league and now in 13th. And I think given the injuries, if those are remotely long term, that is bad news for Leon, and they're in dire straits. Whereas I think Poe, as a fan, I'm happy for us to get the win. Hopefully that's a kind of corner turned in terms of some pretty poor form and some pretty poor rugby. Got a few more players back as well. So hopefully we've turned the corner there. It's amazing what difference like one result makes, because Leon are now 13th and Poe are, I know it's only 1 point, they're 1 point ahead of Leon, but they're now 10th, and it suddenly looks way
slightly rosier. Yeah. And then the final game of the weekend, Stade Francais. I don't think we expect them to get too much down at Bayonne. Not a hammering by any stretch, 21-13 to the Basques, but yeah, Stade Francais. Have they won away from home this year? I don't think they have they?
No. That kit though deserves a win. So good. It's so, because they went back to the old school one last year, didn't they? At one point,
blue
with blue and red, which I think had gold trim. I think that one might have been better, but this one, it looked amazing.
It's cool, isn't it? I think it's basically the same style, but with more of it's kind of a pinkish red bolt, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a bit more blue, I think, kind of generally. Yeah, there was a really cool try from Marchant that was chip over the top. It's probably the try of the weekend, actually. It just gets the bounce and he finishes nicely. Marchant's playing really well at the moment, as is another England centre, Manu Tuolangi, who absolutely belted Romain Briat at one point. I would say the best player in this game was probably Habel Kufner, though. I think he's such a good player.
He's been awesome, isn't he?
He's such a good player. Good. There was one bit at the end where Barre, he just gets enough of Barre to kind of make Barre fall into touch, which probably could have been the game, to be fair. But yeah, he's just so good both sides of the ball. I thought we were going to see Barre at 12. We very nearly saw it. I think he did come on at 15, but I got very excited when I thought he might be playing 12.
Your experiment
after my mention last week, because Lester Etienne played 12, which is quite random.
That is quite right.
Del Boy dropped out late.
But
yeah,
not to be this time. All right, should we wrap up? We'll come back in a bit for a bit of Pro Day there, and then Europe to come. So we'll part the top 14 for a couple of weeks, and
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. Like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Back in a sec. Alrighty, Pro Day 2 was back, and there were some couple of massive wins, particularly at the top. Grenoble, who are having a real, well, I just say it so many times, it's just an excellent side, cementing their place at the top. They hammered Colomiers 65-19. It's probably single biggest score this year. That feels like that's quite a lot of points, isn't it?
Yeah.
65 is some going.
Colomiers, who haven't won. Sorry, they haven't won since October. And since the start of October, they have got 1 win and 1 draw out of their 7 games, which is not good.
No.
Given that they started with 4 wins out of 5. They're now one win in 7.
They've had a bit of a rough trot, haven't they? Like, they've had to go away to Grenoble. I think 2 weeks ago they were away at Brive.
Yeah.
They haven't exactly had it all their own way in terms of fixtures. Albeit, I think right at the start of the year, you said they had probably
the easiest start,
easiest, at least on paper, start, which maybe doesn't quite look the same as it does now. But yeah, they're in a bit of a,
I think, reverting to the mean, I think, a little bit there.
Yeah, possibly. Brive beat Montauban as expected. Béziers got a decent win over Agen, and Biarritz at the top of the table as well. So they will sort of secured their spots in the top 4 at least for another week. Soy-en-Gallen,
I think Montauban here to stay though. I think that form, that's not a bad result. I know they lost and get any bonus points, but I think that form is here to stay. I think they will be looking to get into the barrage.
Yeah.
Also, I think they had like the 7th biggest budget as well. I remember mocking them at the start of the season, given how bad they were last year. But actually, they seem to have turned themselves around and making the most of that budget and playing some great rugby. So
yeah, and they've won 8 games as well. So I think there've been a couple of draws this year. They've won 8, maybe slightly fewer bonus points than a few of the other sides at the top. But in terms of raw wins, they are up there with same number of wins as Brive and Biarritz. So
yeah, they're only 3 points behind Brive. So, that is very tight. 2nd to 6th is very tight.
Yeah, absolutely. 5th, Provence nearly got turned over by Stade Niçoise, who it feels like have put in some really good and probably their best performances of the season away from home. Yeah, I think it was a 78th minute try that won this for Provence. So that's some, a decent effort, albeit again, it's a bit of probably a little bit of a hammer blow in what was, I think we said last week, this sort of derby-ish, near enough one another, aren't they?
It's got to be Nice's nearest home game.
Yes.
Nearest away game, sorry.
So yeah, decent. Well, like you said, a decent losing bonus point, but could have been a bit more for Nice. But there were a couple of notable away wins. One of which was, I don't know why I'm laughing, Dax away at Nevers, which is Dax. Where are they in the league now?
You called
that? Be sneaking out. Yeah, just a good just a really impressive side, I think, aren't they? Because they've definitely got one of the lowest budgets in the league. They also had that amazing season last year, getting a Barrard spot, having come up from National, and they just seem to just pick up sort of niche wins, maybe where you don't expect them. Which is
I was convinced Nevers were going to win that. I know that they are definitely more underpowered than they were last year up front, and Dax have got some massive blokes. But I just thought that's such a long way to get to Nevers, and Nevers have historically been all right at home. I don't know how they're in 13th. It feels like they haven't been picking up many wins. Well, 4 out of 12, but yeah. I think there's like a little bit of a split, and I would put Dax just in the top bit of that with their kind of 7 wins. And then you look at Mont-de-Marsan, the one place below them is 5 wins. And it kind of feels like Mont-de-Marsan, although they have picked up their form, it feels like 9th downwards are the teams that have had patches of being quite bad this season. Whereas the narrative of Dax, Soyongalem, Montauban in 6th, 7th and 8th all feels quite positive. So that would be where I would split it at the moment.
Yeah, seems a fair appraisal. Do we put Oyonnax and whatever they're going through at the moment? Do we describe that as a patch, or are we beyond the patch into something somewhat more concerning? Because they are really struggling for a team that just have at least seemingly a really strong squad. And I know,
like the bits I watched today, like you hear some of the names. Like when they're playing, you're like, oh shit, he's good. Oh, he's good. Oh my God, he's good. Like you hear just in the commentary, you pick up the names. It's like these guys, these are good players. I think they are they're in a bad way now because, as you said a couple of weeks, they're finding ways to lose games. At the end here, they had a 5-meter penalty, tap and go to kind of 25-30, clock's gone red, and Pago Tafili, like good player, just knocks it on in contact, and it's just like game over. 2L Trinini refereed this game.
Really?
Yeah, I was like quite surprised. I quite like that. Just a top ref. You know, he's done international rugby now, so the top ref kind of dropping down to Perpignan is quite cool. But yeah, I think because they are getting to that point of a losing habit. Like they've now lost at home a couple of times to teams they should be beating by quite narrow scores where they could have won it at the end. And that is the kind of red flag that you don't want, isn't it? Yeah. Also, some of their defense in this is so bad. Like, I just don't know how. And it was bad. I thought it was quite bad last year. I don't know how. Well, we know how Joel Ad's been picked as England defense coach. But yeah,
it's a strange one. You would assume, and with such a long period of the season to go, you'd assume this will change at some point. But I think we've been assuming it would change at some point for probably about the last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
they just seem to be in a really bad spot.
I'm quite a malicious, skeptical, cynical person, as you know, and so I now just wanted to keep going. I'm quite enjoying it now. You know, how far can they go? Can they finish bottom? Can Joel Abd, will they concede 50 points at home?
Can Joel Abd be simultaneously managing a national side and being the defence coach?
Highest paid defence coach in world rugby.
Quite, it's a real hole they're in. I think we've mentioned everyone there, haven't we? Who do they play next week? They've got to go away to Agen.
They've got to win that. They've got to be targeting that, haven't they?
Got to find something out of that, you'd think.
Well, Little Wee Derby Friday night, Dax v Biarritz.
Oh yeah, that's the proper late one, isn't it? The 9-punter.
Which, as we know, is only ever won by the home team. So well done, Dax. Give them the points now.
Give them the points.
Biarritz haven't won away from home either, so that means they're going to put 50 on Dax, and we'll be made to look like idiots again.
And it is only an hour up the road, something like that.
Yeah.
So, where's an away win going to come from here? Do we reckon Provence at Colomiers Thursday?
Yeah. Although Provence have been Grenoble at Stade Montois.
Stade Montois, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Valence away at Aurillac could happen. Sax V away at Montauban.
Always
great away record that we've got.
I've seen you wear that Montauban shirt so many times.
I think the Montauban jumper is my favourite jumper. It's just a really nice jumper.
Nice, good.
I'm kind of hoping one of them. I was preparing myself for if Poe came down. I was hoping that Montauban or Sax V, if Montauban were going to get up, they would have to become my top 14 team. But looks like Poe are here to stay, thankfully.
You would think so. Coming down a league very quickly, starting to get the tiniest glimmers of daylight. The most notable, I think, big derby match at the weekend. Narbonne won away at Carcassonne, 18-15.
Oh, that was the El Classic Ord.
There it is, El Classic Ord. 15-18, no tries. And a Tom Chauvet penalty, Narbonne to win it in the last. I think so the score changed hands quite a bit in the last few minutes. So yeah, possibly might be kicking themselves a little bit. The Carcassonne boys. Most impressive, they're Rouen, who, as we know, are top, came out pro there last year. They got a 1 point win away at Massy in Paris, which in itself is maybe nothing to go too wild about. But they've now won. They've won 8 out of the last 9, of which the other one was a draw. So they're having a hell of a start to the season. They've only lost once all year, and that's starting to show a little bit in the table.
Is the top of the table though? Anyone's? Is it anything could happen?
No. Well, not anything. No, it's still incredibly tight. But Rouen are a few points clear of Chambéry in second, and there's a little bit of a gap, 4 or 5 point gap opening up between third and fourth, and then fifth and sixth respectively, which is Carcassonne and Albi, with Narbonne and Périgueux making up the barrage spots, and then it's a little bit of a gap down as well. Carcassonne still aren't going great guns with on -52, but we never know. They might turn it around. Does that sum up our Pro de National Digest for the week? I think it probably does, doesn't it? I
think it does, yeah.
Should we finish with a couple of Petit-Fours and then call it a night?
Yes.
What have you got for me this week, Rob?
I've got a very good one, but I'm happy to wait. Also, something happened at Bourgoin. I don't know what happened. I've saved a post, but I haven't had time to translate it. I think Pascal Pape might be gone from Bourgoin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They did lose to Tarbes at the weekend. Yeah, I haven't seen too much this week. So Mathieu Jalibert has announced his contract extension to 2028, I think it was. Or it sort of paraded around the Chaban Delmas a little bit, which is quite cool. They're showing him a lot of love, I think, after the sort of few weeks he's had. Kind of slightly polarised view on Mathieu Jalibert. They obviously love him, and rightly so, down there. Saw that. What else has been sniffing around transfers? I feel like I saw quite a good one actually earlier, and I
feel like there's been quite a few recently, and I haven't written them down.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. So that was a completely useless segment. What has, you said something has genuinely taken your interest this week?
Right. Okay. Can you see this man here?
Oh, you did mention it. I can. He's
how would you describe him?
Sort of, I guess, like a prop type shape.
He's quite rotund, isn't he?
And he is also what looks like he's deliberately showing his belly, so it feels like he kind of gets it as well. So
this is Loic Garbai, who plays for Confluent Rugby Club XV in Regional 1. He's a winger at 115 kilos, 180 centimeters, 115 kilos. So yes, he is quite a large boy, and he knows it. He wears a specially made double XL, the fact it's specially made, it implies that he's got a bigger shirt than some of the props. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, Confluent RC were playing Union Athletique Issy-Jacquoise in Issy-Jacques near Bergerac, so slightly further north than Aiguillon. Confluent RC are the culmination of about 4 different clubs. And they play at the Stade Le Mans in Saint-Laurent and the Stade Louis Jamet in Aiguillon, both quite near Agen. I feel like all the best stories come from near Argennes, but that photo that you just saw of him exposing his belly was an intentional try celebration after he scored in the 77th minute, because he wanted to disassociate himself with the world day of the day that day. It was the 17th of November. Do you know what the 17th
world day of the day?
Yeah, so like World
okay,
Peace
fine.
Day, or yeah. What was the 17th of November?
World.
And why was he disassociating himself from it?
World Vegan Day?
Close. It was it was World Anti-Foie Gras Day. And so in protest at this day, on scoring his try, Loic Garbay exposed his gut in solidarity with those foie gras eaters, because he looks like a man that has enjoyed a bit of foie gras in his time.
Wow.
So I stand with Loic.
I stand with Loic. Oh my God. There's just too much. I'm struggling to take all of that in, to be honest. That's quite something.
The other thing about this,
how much must he love foie gras to have that in his mind and remember in the 77th minute?
I imagine there are parts of
wow,
the Bergerac Argennes region that people are quite tuned into foie gras. That is kind of real Gascony. That's kind of the hotbed of foie gras, isn't it? Basically, that sort of area. Just a little bit on Confluent RC. So it's SC Aiguillon, Union Sportive Saint-Marie Saint-Laurent, and Côte de Presas. And then Monarques. They're basically 4 clubs, one of which, l'Union Sportive Damazan Bouzet. If you type in Damazan into Google, you get Damazan Cricket Club. So there is also a cricket club in that area of France. So yeah, I think I might be emigrating to Damazan to celebrate foie gras with Loic Garbay and to play cricket in the local cricket team.
It's just that's done me. That's excellent. He looks really annoyed. It's not like, it doesn't look like he's having much of a laugh about it.
No. Well, solidarity. I stand with Loic. That is genuinely one of the funniest, one of my favourite Petit-Fours that I've seen, just because you know how much I love foie gras, and the fact that, as you say, that he's got that front and centre of his mind on celebrating a try is fantastic.
Shout out Loic, unbelievable work from him. I think I've got anything else. Should we leave it there? We're back on some point this week.
Yeah. To preview Europe. I'm a bit sad there's no top 14. It's kind of real bubbling up at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird sort of gap, isn't it, between the internationals and European Cup? Maybe a couple more weeks would have been quite nice, just to, as you say, bubble up a little bit more. But yeah, we'll be back a little bit later in the week with some bit of a preview of the Champions and Challenge Cups, which have flown back round as they always do. In the meantime, Rob, you can follow us on.
We are at Rosbeast Rugby on X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads. Is that all of them?
Yeah. I need to sort out Blue Sky. I've actually got it on my phone, but I haven't set up an account yet. So I'll get that sorted, and maybe by Thursday, whenever it is, we can have another option for you to follow us in the background on. I think that's it. We'll be back.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
we'll be back with more energy, more gusto. We'll be less broken.
Less broken. More ready. Hoping less broken, because otherwise that's getting into the realms of genuinely quite problematic. So we'll be back with further gusto, with plenty more French rugby. And I guess a little bit more English rugby as well. So it brings it all together nicely. I've been Richard, that has been Rob. We've been the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you soon. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
Oh,